And you know, and we're going to all, so we quit junk food, we're going to all cook from scratch for a month. We're going to shop the outside of the supermarket and get actual food with, you know, that just says squash. That just says orange. You know, not going to be any monosodium glutamate. None of this stuff, okay? And we're going to cook from scratch. We're going to get in our kitchens and use them. That's going to be fun. And then the news is really depressing. You know, I'm Fauci. I'm depressing. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. For every 1 hour you spend watching the news, you have to spend 2 hours watching belly jiggling comedy to offset the hour of news. Laughter does better than the medicine. We're going to laugh. We're going to laugh COVID right in. And then finally, last part of the experiment, America. I'm still channeling Fauci here. Last part of the experiment is make a list, because vengeance and stress and hateful thoughts are the #1 suppressant of the immune system. So what we're going to do is take out a piece of paper and write down all the people who have wronged you, screwed you over, you're mad at, angry at, gave you the wrong, you know, end of the stick. #1, Fauci. But all the people that you just really, you know, I'd like to go kick them in the shins. Write their names down on a list, okay? All right? And then forgive them. And then forgive them. Okay? Now, America, let's do that for 1 month and see what happens. What do you think would have happened? Pfizer Pharmaceutical would have lost a lot of money. Here's the thing, folks. When the wheels fall off, one of the things, the main thing that you don't want to be when the wheels fall off is sick. You don't want to be the one lying in there on the bed. Hey, can you grab me and take me out too? So, create your health kit. How do you create your health kit? Well, you've got to be intentional. Like Tag was saying about the community, you've got to be intentional. Or find somebody who knows. Look, I don't have time. I wish, I listen to these herbalists, and man, I mean, they've got all these tinctures and concoctions, and I just stand there just, that is so cool. But you know what? I got to figure out how to move cows and build electric fence and build sheds and make compost. You know, maybe it's a cop-out, maybe it's an excuse. I just don't feel like I have time to become an herbalist. But you know what? I can develop friendships with people who are. I mean, a few years ago, I was building a shed, and I got tennis elbow. I mean, my elbow swelled up. It was bad. Had an herbalist friend. She said, "Put a comfrey poultice on it." What? Comfrey? Sure, I got comfrey. You should grow some herbs. Grow some herbs, okay? So I went and I got some comfrey leaves. I, you know, mashed them all, put them on there, put some saran wrap around, you know, and just, I mean, in one day, it was gone. Had a planter's wart on my foot. You know, and being a man, you don't go anywhere for this stuff, you know, you just suffer it. So, I mean, it got to be bad. I got it at Bugs Island doing a stupid camping trip with somebody. And, crazy. Anyway, so I'm walking, you know, this thing's getting big. It's the size of a golf ball, you know, and I'm limping around. Another herbalist. Put comfrey on it. I went out and got some comfrey leaves, put them in my sock in the morning, stepped on it. About the second day, when I put them in there, I mean, it started stinging. I said, "Ha, stinging's good." You know, stinging's good. I'm not kidding. In a month, that whole big planter's wart just fell right out of my foot. All nice new skin, pretty as anything. Okay? Folks, Create your health kit with your own knowledge, with people you know. There's herbs, tinctures, all sorts of wonderful things. Seek alternatives. There's red light therapy. There's hyperbaric chambers now. There's supplements. There's all sorts of cool stuff, all right? Some of it snake oil, that's fine. Try it. And a lot of this stuff that's gentle kind of ancient wisdom doesn't work for everything. It doesn't work for everything, okay? Yeah, and you can play around with your diet, become a carnivore for a while if you want to. But the point is, what works, a lot of these gentle historic therapies don't work for every single thing every time. But fortunately, they don't have the negative. They don't have all the bad stuff that might happen. All right, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Then try something else. Try something else. Okay, doesn't always work. Build your immunity. Build your immunity by reducing the number of hours you spend in sterility. Now, I don't mean in sexual sterility. I mean being sterile. Okay. Wash your hands about a quarter of the number of times you do. Get your hands in some dirt. Finland now leads the world in connecting kids that grow up in cow manure versus kids that grow up in the city, and the kids that grow up out in the stable, in a dairy barn, little infants, in little carts, and they're reaching over and getting everything goes in their mouth, right? And those kids are incredibly healthy compared to the city kids. So I actually literally just had a meeting with a guy last week. I've been throwing this idea out for entrepreneurs for like 3 years, ever since I found out about all this from Finland. And I said, there's $1 million opportunity here for somebody to make like a permeable bladder that we fill with farm soil and compost and have a subscription service into the urban sector, so people could come up and bump and breathe and like powder their noses on this farm compost to be immunological. Those of you who know me know I routinely drink out of the cow trough. Cows are out here. I get down with the cow. I drink out of the cow. Why? To feed my microbiome, and I never get sick. Now I don't want to knock on wood here. I don't want to, but that's the way you build your immune system. Drink from your stock tank. In fact, we just at the farm we just hosted the National Association of Nutritional Professionals, and the executive director came up to me after. He says, we got our new fundraiser idea. We're gonna start selling cow water from your stock tank, okay, for immunological function. And there's no regulations on cow water.
Which end you collect it from?
Number seven, quit the supermarket. Everybody's going to the supermarket. Where do you buy food if you don't go to the supermarket? Well, you find farmers. You go counter. You immunize yourself against the system. If you don't want the system supermarket, well then find your farmer. What kind of a farmer? You want a farmer who uses compost for fertility, that does a real carbon economy. You want a farmer who doesn't use any pharmaceuticals. You want a farmer that has 2 generations on the farm, so that it's a stable farm. If a business only has workers from 1 generation, it's very vulnerable, very unstable. So you want a 2-generation place. Find your local supply. Find your community of food provenance. Does the farm have a community of local supply? When Putin invaded Ukraine and the wheat went up and all this stuff, we just laughed because we get all our GMO-free grains from local farmers right there that we know. We've built that community over time. We didn't have a grain mill when GMOs came in. So I went out looking for somebody that had one. I found one on a Mennonite farm in Cobwebs. It was a 1950s mill. I said, would you guys be willing to build up some GMO-free grain for us? Turned out I got in the middle of a family fight. Grandpa built the mill. The son wanted to tear it down because they weren't using it, and so I'm never going to get done, Nicole. So the son said, I'd love to use that mill. So we said, okay, start running it. And so he started running it, and that mill, Sunrise Farms, now 20 years later, services a 200-mile radius and is keeping thousands of acres out of GMOs in our region, selling GMO-free feedstock to farmers. So that's a good community story. It's a good community story. Yeah. Okay. Shorten your food chain. Okay. Find your local producer. Buy direct. No middleman. We can now ship. We do ship nationwide at Polyface. Shameless plug there. If you don't know where to go, you can get it directly from us. But build a direct. Don't get middlemen involved. Don't get a bunch of warehouses involved. Go straight to the farm. You can grow your own food. You can do edible landscaping, stacking, multi-species, season extension, okay, greenhouses, solariums, southern aspects, floating gardens in ponds using water as a mass. The leeward side of a pond is frost-free. Put your strawberries and peach trees there. Develop your animals with infrastructure that's mobile, modular, and management intensive. Okay? Number 8, abandon convenience food. Abandon convenience food. Everybody's going to a convenience. My biggest prophetic blunder many years ago, I do media interviews and say, where do you see the food system in 30 years? So, everybody's going to be in their kitchen, they're going to be doing all this stuff. No. What we got was Hot Pockets and Lunchables. Your freedom is only as good as your participation. Your freedom is only as good as your participation. And one of the best ways to make sure that you have a food freedom is by cultivating domestic culinary arts. I can remember when you couldn't buy boneless, skinless breast at the supermarket. Today, half our customers don't know a chicken has bones. I mean, I think we go out and pick boneless, skinless breast off of a peach tree, Folks, we've been told a lie that if you'll just let us take care of you, you'll have more time to go on cruises, watch Netflix, and the football game. And then suddenly have a black swan, like COVID, or like Putin invaded Ukraine, and suddenly we realize, oh, convenience was slavery. And we realize we got to get out of that. Get in your kitchen, make your own convenience. Pre-cooked chicken, leftovers. The signature of people who get it is, are you eating leftovers? Do your own packaging, no single servicing, and of course the kitchen is a great place to teach kids for chemistry, fractions, all that sort of thing. Number 9, quickly, abandon child frenzy. Folks, we got this cultish fetish in our country that our kids suddenly have to be involved in every single thing possible. Listen, if you can't get your kids as excited about life from salamanders and frogs and building dams in the creek as they are from going to the ballet practice, you got problems. Okay? So how do we get our kids to have self-worth, to not want to take fentanyl, to not want to commit suicide, to feel good about themselves? Self-worth comes from being successful at meaningful tasks. Being successful at meaningful tasks. So, we want them to have chores. All right? We want them to homeschool, any kind of co-ops, nature schools, online curriculums, anything but the institutional classroom. Substitute, instead, chores, entrepreneurship, and authentic responsibility. Finally, number 10, let's abandon fear. Our culture is running pell-mell toward fear. Amen. Paranoia grips our country. I feel like our country's like a wasp nest that's just been disturbed, and all those wasps, and everybody's angry at everybody. We have dystopia. Everyone's frazzled and short-tempered. Let's us be strategic, commonsensical, systematic, and embrace faith. Embrace faith first, that we have enough. We have enough time. We have enough talent. We have enough ability. We have enough resources. We're not about to run out of everything. Our Our nest here is not a reluctant partner. It is an embracing lover. Nature is not a reluctant partner to be put in a half Nelson and I'm going to make you get your... No. It's a lover to be embraced and caressed in the right places. That's the truth. We can make good decisions. We don't have to be making stupid decisions. And we can make strategic preparation and participation. So finally, a couple parting thoughts. Can I do this, Nicole? Do I have 2 minutes?
You're good.
Okay.
Who needs to pray?
Parting thoughts. I'm gonna instigate the mob against you if you don't give me 2 minutes. Okay. Then we'll be a true democracy. As far as I'm concerned, any politician that uses democracy should be automatically eliminated. This is a republic, it's not a democracy. If I had office, I'd be trying to get people not to vote instead of getting people to vote. As far as I'm concerned, if you're not giving more to the government than you're receiving, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. Period. All right. Number one, I got a couple of these. Very quick. Number one, whatever you've been putting off is probably the most important thing you need to do. Think about that. Whatever you've been putting off is probably the most important thing you need to do. Number two, right now, I give you permission to dream. We need permission to dream. When we're little kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, I mean, you know, we can make umbrellas and guns and everything out of a stick. But then we want to please mom and dad. We want to please the Sunday school teacher, the preacher, the teacher, the first employer, and then you want to please somebody to get married to them, and then you want to please the in-laws, and by the time we're in our mid-20s, we've lost the capacity to dream because our life is consumed with other people's expectations. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So my mentor, Alan Nation, used to say, if you want the true measure of yourself, who you really are, your core yourself, go back to when you were 10 years old. 10 years old is when you're old enough to know who you were, what you like to do, but not old enough to have any responsibilities. It's the perfect sweet spot in life where you could be the truest you of yourself. Don't do it right now. I know we're going to do other things, but sometime in the next 3 or 4 days, get by yourself. Take a half hour, an hour, and just, I don't care if you get in a yoga position, a dark room, in your sleep, whatever, pray. Become 10 again. Become 10 again. And free yourself to dream. Number 3, make a roadmap of where you want to go. This has been alluded to by already today, but I'm just going to reiterate it. Nobody will go on a trip with you if you don't know where you're going.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go somewhere you haven't strategically written down a plan to get there. Okay? The GPS will not get you to your life success. You can't plug in my destination. You have to make that destination. And you have to make a roadmap to get there. And finally, and in closing, we've all heard this saying, if it's worth doing, probably some matriarch in our history, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing.
Right. No.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong. If it's worth doing poorly first. Thanksgiving's coming up. Okay? We got the family getting together, the whole family, right? They're all together. All the crazy, whatever. All right. The newest little addition, Emily Sue, she's like 9, 10 months old. She's crawling around on the floor, and adults are, yak, 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 talking. And little Emily Sue, she comes up to the chair leg and she kind of gets a hold of it. She kind of gets herself up, and she's kind of standing there toddling. Probably her mom sees her first and, oh, look, Emily Sue, she stood up. It's the first time she stood up. And of course, all the adults in there immediately look at Emily Sue, and she looks up at everybody, everybody's looking at her. She's terrified, loses her grip, falls down her diaper, right?
And get the splat.
What do all the adults do? We got a different house. In our house, we all get up around her and say, well, Emily Sue, if you can't walk any better than that, just quit. Because if it's worth doing right. right first. We do it poorly first. We don't walk well first. We don't talk well first. We don't poop well. I guess we do. We just don't know where to put it. We don't do anything well first. So you leave here, and the cows are out, and the sourdough mother fails, and your first attempt at making butter doesn't work, or whatever it is, okay? I want you to go to your bathroom mirror. Most of us have a mirror in our bathroom, right? Look at yourself, hike up your diapers, and look at yourself and say, you know what? If it's worth doing poorly first. Because that's the truth. There's no reason to be intimidated by stuff that we don't know how to do, or we feel like it's over our headlights or whatever. Just jump in, proceed, do it. Mastery, Michael Jordan said for every basket he made in a basketball game, he missed 10,000 in practice. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly first. Now may all your carrots grow long and straight. May your radishes be large but not pithy. May tomato blossom end rot affect your Monsanto neighbor's tomatoes. May the coyotes be struck blind at your pastured chickens. May all of your culinary experiments be delectably palatable. May the rain fall gently on your fields, the wind be always at your back. May your children rise and call you blessed. And may we all make our nest a better place than we inherited. God bless you. Thank you for letting me visit with you.
And it was worth the wait, right? Yeah. Amazing, awesome. Well, we're going to do about 10 minutes of questions, but instead of me running around to all of you guys, I'm going to have you guys come to me. And like we stated in the beginning, John Willis was the one who said it. He's like, if you don't ask the question, take advantage of the knowledge that is here. You have Joel Salatin for 10 minutes. So who's going to come up and ask the first question?
Don't be bashful.
Come on.
Every single question is important.
Hi, I love that speech, and I love the part about the diamond developments from way back when. Did you just say, what was the word that you said that they would take and compost a master gardener?
Night soil.
Night soil.
That's your poop.
Okay.
That is a nice way to say poop.
Okay, and you said we knew how to poop as infants, but we didn't know where to put it. Most of us still don't know where to put it. Can you speak to that a little bit on the details?
Yeah, so if you start looking at alternative sewage systems and how to capture the fertility value or all the fertility, you can go down a lot of rabbit holes really quick, okay? And so far, most of this has not been yet censored off of YouTube, so even though it's kind of dirty language. But there are all sorts of systems. I mean, one of the neatest I ever saw was in the Netherlands. It was an eco-village of 35 houses, all with living roofs. One guy had 6 sheep, and he mowed all the house roofs. Okay, that was his contribution, okay, with the sheep. And then they ate lamb. And all their sewer went into a half-acre made wetland with pebbles. It had a bladder in it, and the water discharged into the creek, so they actually had to monitor the water all the time. And it had cattails and daylilies and stuff that grew voraciously in the nutrient-dense pebble bladder, okay? And they used that for composting, so they could all use that to keep the fertility up in their gardens and all that. And you could drink the water coming out the end of it. So that's probably the prettiest system I've ever seen in the world. But they're in South Africa. I saw trickle towers where you have a dual septic. So this is a water-based system. One of the nice things about water is that it is easier to clean. You don't have to put in a scoop for poop, and you don't have all this stuff, okay? You don't have splatter and an edge. Anyway, there is something nice about water, okay? And if my wife were here, she would be, yes, there is something nice about water. I mean, I'm telling you what I've seen and what can be done. I don't do it at my house because I want to stay married. Okay? So everybody's not on the same place of the journey, but we are getting ready to put in an uninspected, unlicensed toilet system for our gathering area. And so what I saw in South Africa was a trickle tower. I keep wanting to say tinkle tower. It's a trickle tower. And what they were doing, they were taking a double septic and then taking that gray and putting it down through. This was a tower of like they went to Lowe's. I don't know if it has Lowe's there, but anyway, they had big plastic things with little rock pebbles in them, and the effluent came out of a PVC pipe and dribbled down into. So it was an aerobic bacterial, aerobic microorganisms. They ate everything up as it trickled through the tower, you know, from this tub to this tub to this tub. They all had holes in them, and there was zero smell, and you could drink the water at the bottom. And then they were using the water. They weren't drinking the water. They were putting it on orchard trees. But the point is, it didn't go into a leach field that you lost all the nutrients and lost everything that was going on. You actually were able to capture. So anyway, there's a lot of cool stuff going on, but of course our orthodox inspection system, building inspector, they don't recognize any of that stuff. So, you know, you just have to do it on your own.
Just very quickly, you had mentioned something about a certain side of a pond and it being frost-free. What was that term you used?
The leeward side. So that's a naval term. So it's the non-windward. So if you got a pond and the wind's coming from the westerlies, most of our wind here comes from the westerlies. On the eastern edge of that pond, you've got about a 15-foot frost-free zone. You know how a water vapor comes off a pond in the spring and in the fall, you know, because water is thermal mass. So the air's cold, but the water's warm. So what you have is as the westerlies come across that thermal mass, they warm, and you have about a 15-foot frost-free zone on the downwind side of that pond using the thermal mass. And so stuff that you want to grow, like a fig tree, strawberries, peaches, you know, that are frost prone, you can put in that zone and capture that microclimate.
Thank you.
Quick question about your business side of things and having it work for, in a way, tax shelterness.
Right.
Is there any particular company or corporate setup or business entity setup that you would recommend over the other, like S-Corp, LLC?
Yeah, well, so we have both C Corp. We have a couple of LLCs. I'm not a tax expert by any means, but I do have a very aggressive accountant. My dad was an accountant. Now, he passed away 30 years ago, but we have found, you know, you can get wimpy accountants and you can get aggressive accountants. A wimpy accountant is one that everything they do, they want to take it in the IRS favor. An aggressive accountant is a guy, you know, there's a lot of gray area, okay, and they're going to take that gray area in your favor if they can push it to that way. So I think I'm not qualified to give you the ins and outs of a C and LL, you know, S and all this stuff. I mean, there are differences, obviously. I'm not a tax guy to tell you, but what I will tell you is that you need to buddy up with an aggressive accountant who takes gray areas in your favor and not the IRS favor. That's the best advice I can give you, I think.
Thank you.
At least that I'm confident to tell you.
Thank you.
All right, one or two more.
First, thanks for sharing your life with us.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it very much. Composting. Have a small place running just enough birds for eggs for ourselves. Then composting the hay and the straw and all that. And I guess a blessing from improving our soil quality. And I have moles in the garden, voracious. We've moved to raised beds, but what, in your experience, works really good at stopping these kind of varmints besides active dogs, things like that? Anything?
Yeah, moles in the garden. You know, if you've got a dog,
Yeah.
that's probably the best thing that'll get a mole. But I mean, a mole in the lawn is actually a good thing because they're aerators.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
that's my conundrum.
Yeah, it is a conundrum. But but when you do like we did one time and plant 2 rows of peanuts, and the next morning you come out and a molehill goes right down all the rows of peanuts and comes right back, that's not a good friend, okay? And so there's a balance here. We are big believers in raised beds. In fact, high raised beds, like hugelkultur, okay? Yeah, and I don't think you'll have moles in that kind of a setting. I don't think. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I don't think you're going to have moles in that kind of a setting.
They're all around my raised beds on the outside. When you walk, the ground is now spongy. I live in North Alabama, and it's hard-packed yellow clay.
Well, do you have a dog? 2 dogs?
Yes, sir.
Don't feed them.
I got a question about your son's rabbit operation.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if the selling of the meat in that is profitable in and of itself, or is it all the other things? I'm seeing a lot of other rabbit enterprises. What they say is they're making their money selling the pellets, not so much the pelts, and breeders, really.
Yeah. Okay, so the rabbits, yes, the meat is profitable in and of itself.
Yeah.
But so there's 3 ways to increase profit.
Yeah.
You can either raise your price, reduce your expenses, or increase turnover.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the only 3 ways to increase profit.
Okay.
And so so if you can do all 3 of those things, then you're in really good shape.
Yeah.
And so by running the weaned bunnies on grass, we cut their feed costs by 75%. That's huge. Okay. And then by having a high quality, built up, loyal niche market, we can get a little premium for an unmedicated, a grass-based rabbit.
Yeah.
And so, so you start working all those angles.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Great. Okay. Thanks for letting me visit with you. One more round. Get loud. Give it an FR.